Every man who passed her window measured her worth. Merchants calculated dowry. Knights assessed alliance. Priests priced her soul. But this woodsman walked, with his eyes on the mud. Same time, every evening, never once glancing at the glass. Isolde wasn't supposed to watch. She was Lord Godwin's daughter. Stone walls, glazed windows, servants to build her fires. But stone rooms were still rooms, and glazed windows were still bars. So she watched, the axe over his shoulder, the way his boots found, the same ruts, the hunch in his back. Not weak, carrying something heavy, something invisible. She never saw his face clearly. Wrong light, too fast, or she was afraid to lean too far. But she saw his hands once, scarred, steady, hands that didn't flinch from pain. Her mother caught her on the third evening, said nothing, just closed the shutter. Sir Aldric visits next week, Lady Marjorie said. 40 years old, 2 dead wives, lands on the western border. Isolde nodded. She was trained to nod, to accept her life as ledger entry, her body as bridge between fortunes. But that night, she dreamed of scarred hands. Aldric knew someone watched. 2 weeks now, he told himself. He didn't care. The rich were all the same. Bored women. Poverty is theater. He learned young. The poor were entertainment. A moment's pity. A copper coin. A story for dinner. But this watcher never opened the shutter. Never called down. Never sent charity. It made him angry. He didn't know why. Something about her stillness, her patience, like she had all the time in the world to wait for him to become interesting. On the 12th day, he looked up. He didn't plan it. His neck simply turned, and there she was. Not beautiful like court ladies, jaw too sharp, eyes too serious, but striking. The kind of face that made you look twice, without knowing why. Their eyes met. The world paused. Then Aldric remembered. Mud and stone. Who he was. Who she was. He looked away. Walked faster. Cursed himself for wanting. That night, he couldn't sleep. He thought about her gaze. How it felt like recognition. Like being seen. As something nameless. Possible. He knew better. 32 years old. Mother in pauper's grave. Pride buried in 1,000 humiliations. Hope was luxury he couldn't afford. Yet he rose. An hour earlier. Told himself it was frost. Knew it was lie. She wasn't there. He walked past twice. 3 times. Shutter closed. Glass dark. And Aldric felt something crack. Not loss. Something worse. He had imagined it. Silence was just silence. Not language. A woman with silk curtains would no more want a woodsman than. He took the long way home, through Tannery District, streets where no one knew his name. He would break the pattern, kill the hope. But next evening, there she was, shutter open, figure waiting. When he turned the corner, because he couldn't stay away, she raised her hand. Not a wave, not greeting. Palm against glass, fingers spread, testing if the barrier was real. Aldric stopped, right there, where anyone could see. He didn't raise his hand, didn't dare, but he nodded, once, meaning nothing, meaning everything. She nodded back. Then they looked away. Too long already. Danger real. Some things only possible in silence. Looking makes them true. Edmund saw it from his horse, returning from wool exchange. Accounts balanced, profits secured. There was his sister, in the window, below her, motionless in street, the woodsman, who passed for 17 days. Edmund wasn't cruel, paid servants fairly, honored contracts, donated to chapel, but he understood patterns, and this pattern was clear. His sister was forming attachment that would destroy her value. He said nothing to Isolde. Found their father in counting room, candlelight, ledgers, Westmarch alliance, Edmund said, should conclude quickly, before winter roads. Sir Aldric arrives in 6 days. Contract prepared. Complication. Woodsman. Passes daily. Times route to match. Isolde's window. She noticed him. Godwin looked up. No anger. Just blankness. Man who treated emotion as bad investment. She spoke to him? No. But she waits. Yesterday they acknowledged. Acknowledged. Nod. Gesture. Nothing compromising. Yet. Close window. Post servant outside her door. When Aldric arrives, keep her occupied. By betrothal announcement, she forgets face. She never knew. And if she doesn't forget, we remind her what poverty looks like. Godwin returned to Ledger. What do we know of him? Nothing. Sells timber. Lives alone. At forest's edge. No family. No connections. Everyone has debts. Edmund. Find his. Window closed. Isolde confined to chamber. Maidservant outside door. Assisting with sewing. Not prisoner. Door not locked. But message clear. Father's patience was resource. She was spending. She thought of the nod. Jaw tightening before gesture. Like movement cost him something. Eyes gray finally. Gray as winter river. Holding hers. One breath too long. She didn't know his name. Didn't know if he could read. Or pray. Or speak sentences. She knew only. He looked without calculating price. In life where every interaction was transaction, that absence of greed felt like kindness or danger. Sir Aldric arrived. On horse the color of dried blood, taller than expected, broader, thick in waist, of man who fought young, feasted mature, manners impeccable, conversation, grain prices, road conditions, health of western estates, dinner. He looked at her, like father looked at livestock, assessing, practical, planning return on investment. Your father says you read, Aldric said, between venison bites. I do, my lord. Philosophy, theology, poetry, and accounts. He nodded. Poetry minor defect. Accounts redeeming virtue. Wife who understands ledgers. Is useful. First wife couldn't count. Past 20. Estate suffered. Isolde smiled. Trained to smile. Second wife, my lord? She counted better. Silence. Servants paused pouring. Aldric set down knife. Careful. She died in childbirth. As did child. Not subject I discuss. At table. I apologize. Meant no disrespect. No. You meant to test me. Pale eyes held hers. Patient as hawk. Natural. You are young. Young confused provocation. With character. I do not hold. Against you. Return to venison. Conversation moved. But Isolde felt cold settle. In stomach. Not fear. Recognition. She saw in Aldric. Same quality as father. Absolute certainty. World ordered. For their benefit. Disruption temporary. Correctable. Insignificant. She excused early. Headache. In chamber. Went to window from habit. Remembered it was shuttered. Pressed palm against wood. Tomorrow. It opens. She would make sure. Aldric knew something changed. Before seeing her. Street felt different. Tighter. Servant loitering. Near vein house. Merchants finding reasons. Elsewhere. Silence of people watching. Without appearing to watch. He should walk on. Long way. Break pattern. Protect them both. But feet carried him. To corner. Eyes rose to window. There she was. Shutter open. Standing in light. Wearing blue. Hair arranged elaborate. Different person. Stranger. Then she raised hand. Same gesture. Palm to glass. Fingers spread. Performing. Playing role. Being seen by others. So she could see him. He didn't nod this time. Just stopped. Let axe slide. From shoulder to hand. Blade catching evening light. Let her see what he was. What he had. Only this. Labor. Silence. Presence without demand. She mouthed something. He couldn't read lips. Warning. Greeting. Goodbye? Servant appeared behind her. Shutter closed. Aldric alone in street. With axe. Certainty he crossed line. He couldn't retreat from. He was right. They came that night. Not soldiers. Too public. Plain clothes. Faces unknown. Knew exactly where. To find hidden savings. Exactly which trees. In Royal Forest. He marked for winter. Exactly how to make poaching charges stick. Despite wrong season, he didn't resist. Learned long ago. Resistance its own punishment. Poor guilty of whatever. Rich needed them guilty of. Bound wrists. Led through suddenly empty streets. Locked in town jail. Without explanation. In darkness. Listening to rats. Aldric thought of her hand. On glass. Way she mouthed words. He couldn't read. First time since childhood. He prayed. Not for deliverance. Too old for that. Prayed for her safety. Her ignorance of his fate. Chance she would marry Baron. Forget Woodsman. Who looked up. When he should have walked on. He didn't pray for himself. Stopped believing. He deserved prayer. Isolde learned from brother. Edmund came morning after feast. Alaric's proposal hanging. Like smoke. Awaiting only her acceptance. To become solid. Real. Irreversible. Woodsman detained. Edmund said. No preamble. Poaching in Royal Forest. Cottage burned for evidence. Hangs before week ends. Unless sheriff shows mercy. Floor tilted. Isolde grip desk. Knuckles white. Innocent. Perhaps. Perhaps not. Forest boundaries. Flexible. What matters? He is gone. Distraction removed. You may focus on duty. You did this. She turned. Edmund saw something in her eyes. Made him step back. Not anger. Colder. Manufactured guilt. Cleared my path. Made choice simple. Made choice possible. You were infatuated with shadow. Silence. Fantasy of rebellion. I showed you. What fantasy costs. Edmund straightened doublet. Alaric expects answer at noon. Father expects yes. Consider carefully. One woodsman's life. Worth ruin of everyone. You love. Left door open. Courtesy. Or threat. Isolde stood motionless. Then went to altar. Knelt. Did not pray. Prayer for people. Who believed in intervention. She believed only in action. Choice. Small defiances. All the power women possessed. Rose. Dressed in plainest gown. Wool. Worn before court presentation. Unbound hair. Simply around shoulders. Walked downstairs. Father waiting with Alaric. Future being written. In contracts she didn't read. Considered your proposal, my lord, she said. Before anyone spoke. Must decline. Silence absolute. Godwin's face. Color of old ash. Alaric simply watched. Patient. Waiting explanation. Making this sensible. Honored by suit. Recognize advantage to family. Cannot marry. Where heart otherwise engaged. Cannot live. Where cannot love. Heart belongs. To man owning nothing. But labor. Asking nothing. But dignity. Choose him. Choose poverty. Choose honesty. Over security. Mad. Father said. Fevered. You withdraw. Neither mad nor fevered. Awake, father. First time in life. Fully awake. Turn to Alaric. Deserve wife. Valuing what you offer. Not she. Heart given. Will not pretend otherwise. Alaric studied her. Long moment. Then smiled. Brother warned stubborn. Did not expect. This. Rose. Adjusted sword belt. Lord Godwin. Withdraw suit. Not from offense. From recognition. Buried 2 wives. Not loving me. Will not bury 3rd. You cannot. Godwin began. Can. And do. Bowed to Isolde. Respectful. Final. Wish you joy. Of Woodsman Lady Isolde, will need it. Walked from hall. In his absence, full weight of father's rage. Dead to me, Godwin whispered, leave with what you wear. Never return, never speak my name. Beg on street, I pass without seeing. Understand, understand, father. Woodsman hangs tomorrow. Romantic fantasy ends. Same place. Poverty, disgrace, death. Chose nothing. Chose myself. Isolde said. First time. More than ever possessed. Turned. Walked from hall. Through corridors. Played in as child. Past servants. Not meeting eyes. Out into morning. Suddenly. Terrifyingly. Entirely her own. Aldric heard footsteps. Spent night in prayer. And regret. Slow acceptance. Life ending. Without meaning. Without witness. Without woman. Whose name he never learned. Knowing what became of him. Door opened. Not executioner. Edmund Vane. Ring of keys. Face unreadable. Charges dropped. Edmund said. Sheriff received. New evidence. Cottage not burned. Merely searched. Free to go. Aldric didn't move. Why? Sister destroyed herself for you. Curious whether worth that destruction. Tossed keys on straw. Chapel. Not there within hour. Find you. Finish what law began. Walked away. Aldric sat motionless. Listening to footsteps fade. Waiting for trap to close. When didn't, he rose. Walked from jail. Into light too bright. Too sharp. Too full of possibility. Found her in chapel. Kneeling before altar. Plain wool. Hair unbound. Back straight. Particular dignity. Of people who lost everything. Discovered it was never theirs. Didn't approach immediately. Stood in doorway. Watching her breathe. Memorizing shape. Of her solitude. Recognizing it. When they shared. She turned. Saw him. Didn't rise. Didn't run. Didn't speak. Simply held out hand. Palm up. Invitation and question. Cross space between them. Knelt beside her. On cold stone. Nothing. He said. Name suspect. Cottage searched. Future is. This. Whatever build from nothing. Nothing. She replied. Family renounced me. Dowry forfeit. Name is shame. Looked at each other. In candlelight. Two people stripped. Of everything defining them. And Aldric realized. Clarity of man reading. Forest signs. This was not loss. This was freedom. Terrible freedom. Beautiful freedom. Beginning without baggage. Without expectation. Without weight. Of who they were supposed to be. Begin with nothing. He said. Another way of saying. Begin with everything. Isolde smiled. Transformed face. Not beauty. Truth. Know how to work. Mother taught me. Before became too fine. Know how to make little last. Bargain. Keep accounts. Know how to build. Wait for seasons. Want less than need. Took her hand finally. Scarred fingers closing. Around hers. Not easy. World will not forgive you. For choosing me. Not seek forgiveness. Sought to be seen. And you saw me. Squeezed his hand. Enough. Everything. Left chapel as bells rang matins. Walked through streets. Waking to ordinary life. Bakers lighting ovens. Maids drawing water. World proceeding. Without concern. For their revolution. Town gate. Paused. Where go? Isolde asked. Where not known. Build without weight. Of what we were. Looked at her. Woman who gave up everything. To begin again. Afraid. Terrified. And free. Smiled. Find two remarkably similar. Walked through gate together. Into morning. Into unknown. Behind them. Chapel bells continued. Ahead. Forest waited. Indifferent. Eternal. Offering nothing. But chance to work. To want. To become something. Neither could predict. Didn't look back. Nothing behind them needed. In years following. Learned love not destination. But practice. poverty honestly shared, less bitter than luxury honestly endured. Silence between them, not emptiness, but space, room to grow, change, build life, from materials at hand, and sometimes, evenings when work done, and fire burned low. Isolde caught Aldric looking at her. That expression, first seen from window, long ago, not desire, not possession, simply recognition, acknowledgement. She was there, he was there, against all odds, found each other, in world designed to keep them apart. She would smile. He would smile back, sit together in silence. That brought them together, would carry them through, was itself kind of prayer. Some stories do not end, simply continue, one day into next, one breath into another, until distinction between ending and beginning loses meaning. All that remains, fact of being, together, against odds, against silence,